Unfortunately, we will not have with us today in person Lucy Akello. I'm saying unfortunately because she's got so much full of energy, and it is actually worthwhile to have her here. She will be with us online, and we will hear her words, which are the words on the voice of Africa. At this seminar, as you may have seen on the program, we are working and we will continue to work on motherhood in crisis when the future is not born. And we will work on that from different perspectives. As Ana del Pino well mentioned, through her accurate diagnosis about situation of the demographic winter we are seeing. We have also approached motherhood in crisis from the deep root causes in terms of how motherhood is perceived today, and the different, and that has and its impact on the choice of that men make as to whether to become mothers or not. We will continue discussing the topic, and this time we will focus on the environment. That is to say, to what extent politics, economy, and society have an impact in the face of motherhood, in the choice of motherhood. We cannot really tackle the crisis of motherhood without discussing roots, nor we cannot tackle it without referring to the environment that encourages women to have children, not to have any children, or to have several children. Nowadays, abortion clinics are paid 10 times more than the money that is invested on pregnant women in vulnerable situations. That is a political decision. One out of the 3 women who have a child in Spain do not have any help or aid to the motherhood. That is also a decision, political decision, and as well as other labor issues. In Spain, only those women who are at work, even get help if they become mothers. That is to say that 1 out of 3 women do not have any right to get any aid to the motherhood because they have never had a job contract. That is also a political decision. But putting motherhood, putting infancy at the center of the action of the government is also a political decision, and impacts on the different actions, the different decisions, has an impact on whether motherhood is in crisis or not. Here we discussed Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals that were about to be achieved by 2000. They were achieved earlier than 2000, and that included also the decline of the population, and that the countries decided to commit to the Millennium Objectives, and that's also a political decision. And again, the increase of the population is seen as a negative element on the environment. That also entails or is explained through political decision. One of the reasons for not having kids is the lack of resources on the part of parents, lack of housing, lack of accessing housing and accommodation, and stable jobs, precarious jobs, low wages, high prices. That is related to the way economy is being managed. On the other hand, seeing that motherhood or an increasing population is a source of richness to countries and that needs to be worked on. That should also be a political decision. That children are seen like luxury items that only few can access to, or children being seen as burdened, or that some territories are hostile to children. Children should be at the center of any urban planning that politicians should make. That is related to society and to the societies of the values. That the state becomes the family eventually. Or the fact that citizens feel alone in the face of states, that is also related to society. However, children being seen as the bigger good or as a reward, and that the care is the obligation of the whole tribe as a whole, is also related to society. We have talked about maternalization. Here, I would like to say that we do have pet-friendly cities, gay-friendly cities, gender perspective cities, but when are we going to have infancy children cities? Truly infancy or children-friendly cities where we need marginalized cities. Today, we do have with us 3 women that believe that motherhood is a positive value from all the perspectives that have been mentioned here. We have with us Margarita de la Pisa and Elisabetta Pittino, and they share the perspective, the view, and the fact that they come from 2 countries that often are seen as countries where the family lies at the center as a highly relevant element. Despite both countries are facing the same demographic winter, which makes it a paradox. Regarding Akello, Lucy Akello represents a very apparently different view, as children and families are seen differently in Africa, despite they are suffering from what has been known as neo-colonialism, through which development aid, which are all the more necessary in these African countries that are conditioned by accepting the gender agenda of Western countries in a manner that they face up to the difficult situation of accepting developing aid or versus losing their roots. Fortunately, there are many African women who have been reporting these facts for a long time, have been denouncing neo-colonialism for a long time, and there are many African women that are resolute to advocate for the importance of children and the family in the country. We would like to give the floor to Lucy Akello. I can tell you that she is a social worker and politician at the Member of Parliament in the Namuru District Women's Constituency. She worked in the field of human rights and peace building. She has been a member of Justice, Peace and Peace Commission, where she has been working on the protection of women, children and adolescents.
Sí, de acuerdo. ¿La dejamos para después? Vale, entonces, sí, muchísimas gracias. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much for the announcement. Well, I will finish off with her introduction, with Lucy's introduction, and then we will give the floor to Margarita de la Pisa. Lucy Akello has guided her agenda on the protection of children and adolescents, focusing on prevention of early marriage, which is one of the scourges present in the African continent, which seems to be coming to Europe. In this context, she has pointed out the need to fight early marriages bound to dowry. apparently she is ready. Lucy is ready to join us.
Lucy. Really nice to see you, even online. The floor is yours.
Yes, can you hear me? Maybe just by signal. I am not familiar with this system. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
You can hear me?
Yes, Lucy.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Yes, we can hear you.
you so much, everybody. I think we have just finished our elections, and I'm glad to announce all that is re-elected Parliament for 5 years. So you all who prayed for it, most of my colleagues didn't make it, but by the grace of God, I've come back, and we continue to struggle for life and then fighting for our mothers and our children. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to talk about the challenges and my visa, and it is to apply for a new one. So I couldn't catch up now with the short time. For my sincere apologies. I will try my level best to be as clear as possible. And by the grace of God, our internet has been restored. For some time, we didn't have internet. So if you hear me going off, kindly alert me so that maybe I repeat. I want to start by saying that motherhood today is widely considered challenging due to very, very many factors. A combination of intense social pressures, economic instability, significantly lack of supportive infrastructure, and this makes motherhood a very challenging in Africa. Say the COVID era brought a lot of challenges for very many mothers in Africa. And I'm going to be very specific to the case of Uganda. Many of the girls ended up as mothers without preparing for motherhood. And as such, the infrastructure to support them was not in place. They didn't have resources. They didn't have the fathers of these children to support them. Even the family that should have supported them were also handicapped. Either they are poor and they cannot support them. So this made it a big challenge, and we are still continuing to grapple with this. When it comes to the corporate world, even as a member of parliament in Uganda, it is a challenge for me to be a mother, because I must all the time be in the field with the constituents. I fear to move with my pregnancy while looking for votes. But the good news is this: my parliament is so kind to me that we have a creche in the parliament of Uganda. We put up a policy in our parliament to allow mothers who have given birth, who are members of parliament, even staff, to actually bring their children along, not just mothers, but even fathers. Come with your child, breastfeed your child, and you know that your child is safe. This, however, is not common with many mothers out there. Parliament of Uganda, we are lucky, but not many corporate entities in Uganda have this opportunity. That is why many of the mothers fear layoffs because of the financial hardships. Many of our, over 70% of our people are employed under the private sector arrangement, not the government arrangement. Our policy says when you get pregnant and you are entitled to a 3 months paid leave. But this is with government. It doesn't apply to the private sector. So many of the private sectors who are profit-minded will not care about a mother who has given birth. There are mothers who are giving birth through cesarean section. There are mothers who are giving birth to several children, multiple children. For example, you cannot compare you can't compare me, somebody who, I'm sorry, my eating down, I'm sorry about that. That not compare a mother who has birth to multiple children to a mother who has given birth to only child. It is for the policy to apply. This policy will apply even when you have given birth to multiple children, triplets or twins. So that job insecurity is definitely there among the mothers. Secondly, absentee fathers. We are moving away from a scenario in Africa. In Africa, we believe that men are the breadwinners. I am sure also in Europe, I don't know about that, in America. But in Africa, traditionally, we know that men are the breadwinners and they should take care of the women. But this has drastically changed. Many women have now taken up the roles of men. They have to look after children. They have to provide for the children. This makes many women to work extraordinarily hard, even when they are when to be enjoying their maternity. They will cut maternity in order to make more money, and this causes a lot of burnouts among women, causes a lot of anxiety among them. Many of them are becoming sick. Another thing is the child care support system. Unlike Europe and maybe America, Africa has a very, very, very poor infrastructure when it comes to child care. And even the available child care which is there is extremely expensive. So it becomes very difficult for a mother to afford to take the child for a daycare program. Even the supportive family system, which should have been there. I talked about the fathers, absentee fathers. These systems are supposed to have supported this woman, the grandmothers. Now we have grandmothers because of the HIV surge. Many of the women are orphans. They are orphaned and they don't have that grandmother setting. Even the available grandmothers are also busy looking for money. So that support system, which used to be readily available to support these women, is not so much strong. Although I must say, it is still there, and it is helping many women. But it is gradually reducing so much. Another issue, especially among the corporate people, is the issue of housing. Housing is, I can categorize it in several ways. One, yes, the houses may be available, but they are not adequate for the growth of our children. They are expensive, and most of the mothers will end up putting children in homes which are not good for the growth of this child. And then it doesn't also, most of the homes do not have the facilities to enable children also to play or to grow, that growth. Most of them are congested. and because they are within town, most of the working mothers are within town, you'll find yourself in a congested environment. You have no control how your child is going to grow and all that. So that becomes a very, very, very big problem. And because of all these challenges, there has been this growing pressure that, because motherhood is such a difficult thing, we must not accept unwanted children. I put unwanted in quotes. Are these really unwanted children? Or we can do something better to make sure that however this child comes into this world, we have infrastructure to receive this child. We have policies that can enable these children to actually fit in the system. Recently, as a country, we amended our law in the Constitution to take care of fathers. We said, because in our Constitution, fathers have only 5 days of paternity leave. So we are saying, why don't we increase the number of paternity days to about maybe 15, so that they are able to give support to their wives, to their partners, instead of allowing the mothers to suffer alone. Well, this was generally accepted, but we must do more to educate the men to take up their responsibilities more seriously. Another thing that we are trying to push more is going back to our roots, to our culture that supports the growth of children, the growth of a family, that extended family that we are running away from. Can we encourage families? I see this still very strong in some families. When I am expecting and I'm remaining with maybe about a week, my mother will come over to support me in case I give birth, assist me with the child, maybe for the first 2 weeks, helping with bathing the child because it's sometimes challenging. These are the kind of things that we are trying to encourage so that motherhood that is not perceived as something bad. Now, motherhood is something very precious to all of us. Ask yourself, without motherhood, would all of us be in this world? No. That means we must, without would we really be in this? Without these who have so much, would we in this world? No. So now the onus is on us. There is on me as who has support to make sure that we have adequate policies that is enable that woman fit well. One point that I want to conclude in this parliament, which is I came up with a motion. I am urging government to come up with a law to make it mandatory for government hospitals to start supporting mothers with clean breast milk. Another challenge that mothers face, a big challenge to motherhood, is access to milk, breast milk. Even just milk. There are mothers who give birth and they will completely lose milk because of the stress that the mothers go through. I came up with a motion urging my Ministry of Health to come up with a law to support the health centers, to support the hospitals, so that we have clean, free breast milk for any mother who has challenge with having breast milk, so that the child that is born will not suffer because of lack of food, because of lack of milk, but has access. Just like any of us, if you lose blood, you go to the blood bank and you get blood. This also applies to our mothers. If you don't have breast milk and you cannot afford formula milk, you can easily walk to a health facility to a health facility, and you are able to get clean breast for this child. I want to thank you all so much, and I look forward to the next encounter. I can still have an opportunity to meet maybe many of you face to face, and I share some of these experiences with you. I hope I have tried to be as clear as possible, but in case of any hiccups, my sincere apologies. This is the best that I could do, but I must say, motherhood should be protected. Motherhood should be supported, because without motherhood, all of us in this world would not be there. So thank you so much to the organizers for thinking about this big challenge. And I hope after this, we can come up with tangible actions that can actually make motherhood something prestigious, something to be proud of. Thank you so, and I wish you all Sean and greet my fellow panelists. Thank you.
Many thanks, Lucy. Many thanks. I hope next time you will be here with us. Many thanks. ¿Queda en pantalla? Bueno, ahora la siguiente interviniente sería Margarita de la Pisa. Margarita de la Pisa
is Margarita de la Pisa. She's a VOX member of the European Parliament. She's got a degree of pharmacy by the Complutense University. She's specialized in biotechnology. She's got experience both in the pharmaceutical industry, and she has been headed pharmacy. She has also worked in projects to support pregnant women. She has a master's degree in neuropsychology by the University of La Rioja, and she is the founder of the educational project Open Your Wings, Abre tus alas.
Saber cuál puede ser tu aportación, tu valiosa aportación al respecto del
We would like, we are looking forward to hearing from you and your contribution to the topic. From the perspective of the European Parliament, we do not work as much on national political action. That means to say strategies to support motherhood. But what we are promoting from Europe sometimes is promoted from the top. It is true to say that we need to be well aware that any political actions or measures to be taken will be grounded on a non-fertile ground. If it falls on a poison that makes no seed to come out. I'd like to share specific examples with you. When we, Member of Parliament, propose topics about awareness raising about motherhood, we never find the necessary support. However, initiatives to report the advance, the movements of Tradwise move forward. Nowadays, there is a trendy movement on social media where many women have decided to come back to their families, and they are sharing that. And actually, the members of parliament from other political parties feel that there is going back in terms of rights of women, and that needs to be halted. And the European Parliament is putting together initiatives to complain about that. And it also talks about our success, how at the political level and at association level we are achieving great successes. that we are well coordinated, we are delivering our message better and better. And nowadays, there is also a work, that is to say, to produce an initiative document to talk about the advancement of anti-gender movement, that is to say, regression of women's rights. And actually, we have also worked a lot about gender issues. Here in Spain, we have experience in that, as that is a promotion of that undermines motherhood, that this is imposing fears on women and make women believe that they are wrong and they cannot really see the reality of their happiness. That is the propaganda by the Equality Ministry in Spain. And
not even €1 from the budget of the European Union that we create with our taxes goes to anything that has to do with family or supporting maternity, because all of this is considered today as not aligned to the values of the European Union. And so it means that we are living in a moment where we can't foster and let anyone foster this maternity, because there's not only a lack of money, but also this concept of anti-family and anti-gender. And there are some people who hate maternity, in fact. Political groups that have these views, and they think of women just for fostering this idea of rage against maternity. And when we finally get to the votes, it is true that they are less radicalized, because there is a lot of weight when it comes to how you present yourself to society. But obviously, the reaction of the media to these women is so strong that some politics are just shy to vote for what they really would want to. My Voice, My Choice, you know, the initiative, and you know the huge noise that there has been made in terms of the media. And this comes to say that the anti-gender movements are associated to anti-human rights and anti-women's rights, and for that reason are to be condemned and censored. And our reaction has to be to talk about it, to create a bigger friction, a bigger tension, and in some way get to win, but also through the legal system, in courts, and using all of our resources to try and get to win ideologically as well. But the curious thing here is that we see some other associations and institutions like the United Nations, as for example, creating this document of fertility, the real crisis of today. And this sometimes we try to convey choice is important. They always talk about the father, the mother, and sometimes they can't have children because of economic reasons, because of the climate change, because of many other ideas and concepts that are crisscrossed there. But the fact there is that there is an ideology as well. This is what you wanted. This is what you asked for. The UFRA, the United for Family Planning in the United Nations, created the opportunity for this to happen. They wanted to reduce the number of births, and they wanted to promote contraception, and they wanted to promote the stoppage of the age of reproduction and fertility. And they created this problem, and now they are not being autocritical, and they are not understanding how big of a problem they have presented to humanity and how big the consequences are of this problem in our society, the hedonism, the loneliness. the consequences for women, but also the biological effects, because fertility is something that we cannot choose to have. It's something that we have the idea of choosing maternity, choosing when I want to be fertile, but it's not that way. It doesn't work that way. Maybe we will be too old when we want to actually have a kid. And that kid becomes an object. I want a kid. They talk about women that can't have as many kids as they want, and other women that say that would have had less kids than they have, actually. And they try to sell us this planification, this planning for the families as a tool for this, for solving this problem, but obviously this was preventable and this was forecasted, and this has been called out by some of us for a long time now. And some of us thought that there would be an effect in terms of biological fertility because they solved this problem with technology. But even if they think they can solve it, there are many debates in a moral layer that will affect this tendency. They will affect the kids, because some kids want to have a father, okay? They don't want to be the son or the daughter of a donor that they don't know nothing about. The gametes and the embryos are considered substances now. They talk about it as if it was hair, for example. I can donate hair, or I can donate skin, for example. And suddenly they realize that even if they are the son or the daughter of a donor, they are still here in this world, and they still want to look for the roots, and they still want to know who's their father or their mother. And before this, there's no autocritic, there's no way of solving this problem. The evidence is humongous, and this reaction will be absolutely monumental, I believe. Before this poison that we have had in our societies, we will have policies that are pro-family. There will be a resurrection of the youngsters and our youngs that are approaching family projects as something so authentical, because my generation and the generation of my fathers didn't feel this way. They felt like they were following up with tradition, you know, but they didn't ask many questions. There were no real arguments there. And that absence of real arguments, of real reasons, and not valuing life as much as we should, because they had kids non-stop. Our grandparents, for example, they would have 10, 12 kids, and they wouldn't really value how important it was to have a child. They are not objects. They are not something that we own. The kids are not something that comes to limit our lives. We need to look at kids as something authentic, as something part of our commitment, part of marriage, part of maternity, paternity. And we need to understand in this group of work as well the causes behind this problem, behind this crisis, because this gender ideology has become clinic. And it's not only about politicians or persons talking about this, it's about the revolution that we are seeing in our youngs, and this we see it more in Spain maybe than other countries, but those families will be fruitful because they are educating kids differently, they're raising their kids in a different manner, and they are our hope. And we need to accompany that with policies, of course. And the blindness that we have had. We have been blindfolded before this, not recognizing that maternity and family are something absolutely needed. For women, of course, I think Maria said it very well and in a very poetic manner, but maternity is also femininity in all of its expressions, at a biological level as well, at a health level as well, because we know that mothers have a renewal of their cells, for example, and every kid means also a new chance of reliving childhood and transmitting how beautiful things could be and beautiful values. We can't fall on topics. Some women are becoming moms and they don't really want it to become moms, and they think that this is ideal and it's idealized by society, and sometimes they become moms when they don't want to, and then we have a problem as well. So we cannot idealize the experience either, but we must understand how family works, how families works, and we need to understand how to help those families, because maybe people who need help 24/7, they would need 5 persons at their disposal, and it's not something that is viable. And before that, inviability of those persons to help and to try and help them take care of their kids, we become a society that looks for solutions like euthanasia, for example. If you can't care of your loved ones, maybe you need to get rid of them, and there's no love in that. That is the key. The key is love, because before being warm, before eating, before anything else, what we need is to love and be loved as human beings. And this is something we will get from our family and from our friends and from our people in our environment. And this is something that we do coming from a feeling that comes from our inside, and that is not viable without a commitment, without deliverance. Before, at the coffee break, I was saying, for me, the most freedom that I felt is when I got married. And it might sound like a paradox, but commitment, and Maria said it very well, to feel united. It makes you feel like you can overcome anything, whatever comes to you. The family will be there. Your family is there for you. I always tell my children, this is your stability, this is for you, this is what you have. Sometimes they don't have even their identity clear. Before, we didn't think of that. We were lacking stability in our families, but now they have inner stability when it comes to their own identity, and that is dangerous as well. But what I want to say is that families are needed. They are a need. It's not possible to have a society without families, without maternity. And when it comes to education as well, we need to help. Sometimes kids have problems when it comes to learning, when it comes to developing, and if we needed economic arguments to defend this, they would be infinite, because the problems that arise in society when maternity is not there and the parents are not present are much more costly than offering this economic support from the very beginning. And why is it not done? Well, because you said it yourself. There's no help when it comes to getting your first home or getting your family. And it's because of this poison, this hate that there is against maternity, this rage against maternity, against women. And they have installed it in us, in the women ourselves. And now to restore the prestige that maternity needs to have is going to be a huge task. And to put women where they deserve, in the best place, is going to be a real challenge. I always work saying that we need to offer women the opportunity to become part of the system, generating as well, creating more resources, because the initiative here is for you to be faithful, for you to not ask for anything and not even help with anything. There is this film Más Cinco with a song that says we need to change fear for love. I completely and absolutely agree, because we are living in a society of fear, of complexes, of prejudices, of control, of not relying on each other, of not trusting each other. And this makes us more autonomous. Yes, well, maybe. I think it's a lie. We all depend on each other anyway, even if you feel very autonomous. And, well, I could go on and on, but I will just leave it here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Muchísimas gracias, Margarita.
Thank you very much. It's been a lovely presentation. Thank you so much. Lovely words. Elisabetta Pittino now, member of Federvita Lombardia, member of the Italian movement pro-life, and also journalist for Avvenire. Also, she works there as a broadcaster, and in Lombardia, the Centers Help for Life and the pro-life movement, 64 organizations with more than 830 volunteers, including women, and she has a Bachelor of Law and has also worked in Brescia and in the movement, pro-life movement in Italy as a coordinator, and works as well in the Corazón de Europa with us. And I think that with her words, she will also offer an incredible view of her trajectory. She also represents the civil society and the contribution in the aspects of economy, society, and politics. Thank you so much. Thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you, Margarita, for your fight for life. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been an honor to be here in this seminar talking about motherhood and maternity. It is so important, as we have heard already this morning. And I have only words of gratefulness to Theo, to all the organizers of the hosts, Anna Del Pino, of course, my dear friend, and all of us here. And I do have a small presentation.
Good Spanish, so it is better that I speak in English. I want to begin with a poem from by Alda Merini, that who is a great one of the greater contemporary poet, an Italian one. She had 4 daughters, and she was for various years in a psychiatric hospital. This quote is from her poems about her motherhood. The embryo is a point, a century of life that listen to the universe, the memory of the world since creation. I think that quoting that poem shows very well motherhood, maternity. And we can say it is simple. We have already said it, that without mothers, humanity would have ended long ago. It's obvious, but today it is not obvious. And this ending of humanity is a reality today, I think. Without women, society could not exist. It's a practical thing. is not a political thing, I don't know, a cultural thing. It's a reality. And there would be no future. Without mothers, humanity would have ended long ago. And the hope for prospect of a better world for children rests with parents, mother and father, but especially with mother. Why this? Because there is a special bond between women and life, a special alliance. Certainly, women have a primacy in the relationship, in the beginning of the relationship with life, with the child. But without fathers, I want to underline also, you already said it, but without father, even maternity couldn't exist. So this female privilege in relationship, in life, is realized through this alliance, a partnership between men and women. Which is the privilege? The privilege is to live with another person, that is the baby in the womb, for 9 months, heart to heart. This time of 9 months is an embrace, an unique embrace. We will never have a long embrace in our life. 9 months, 2 people in an unique embrace. So, an intense embrace, intimate. This embrace in the womb is a seal of love. Love, through this embrace, is imprinted on the beginning of human life. This is very important because, and also through, in this beginning, there is an exchange of gifts between mother and the child. We call it crosstalk, okay? So, the motherhood, the pregnancy, is the archetype of all possible solidarity, the principle and ontological foundation of every openness to others, of every caring relationship, of every caring in general, of every relationship. We've spoken about genius of a relationship that find its source in that primordial model of relationship established with the child natural hospitality under mother heart to heart. So we understand why maternity, motherhood, humanity cannot exist, and why it is important for society. So we've seen that motherhood is in crisis, and the numbers told us, the video told us. I want only to recall some numbers. For instance, in 2023, Eurostat told us that in European Union we totaled 3,667,000 of births, no? That is an historic low, and another historic low data is the fertility rate, 1.38 birth per woman. And also, another interesting thing, we live in a Europe for singles. So, a third of households in European Union are single person. A lot. Abortion in the world. 73 million abortions worldwide every year. From these data are from WHO. 3 out of 10 of all pregnancies end in abortion. And also pet, no? We've spoken about pet. The number of children is decreasing, okay, while the number of pets, animals, considered true family members are increasing. I quote Italy because it seems that Italy leads Europe in pet ownership, no? So, 9 pets for every child. I want to... Allora, we have in Italy 65 million pets and 7 million minors under 14 years. 65 million pets, 7 million of children. It's a madness. But as has been already said, this data show the desire for children, for motherhood and fatherhood. We have to listen to this desire to care for someone. And this desire is strong to the point of looking for a surrogate child in pets. But the relationship between pets and mother or father is unequal. Men and animals are different, we know, and it is not free, like the relationship between human beings. This relationship is grotesque, but shows, despite doing everything to eliminate or negativize motherhood and fatherhood, this is being mother and father, having a family so natural. It's profound so profound in human nature that somehow you have to have pets to replace children. And we have to listen this. This is important because we know that we can show people how good is maternity and paternity. So these are the data. So we can, I think we can speak of this change from a natural motherhood to schizophrenic motherhood. No, I think it's really motherhood that is a natural occurrence because become something difficult, exceptional, unnatural, uncomfortable. A pet is better, and this is not true. And I think one of the main root is the loss of the relationship between man and woman, between mother and child in the womb, through abortion, through pills and contraceptive methods, through divorce, you know. This has played a decisive role in this change of vision, no? Separating sexuality from love, and therefore from procreation, has generated a sterile relationship, temporary, not forever, whereas children are forever, and they need parents forever, parents, mother and father. So how can you educate, raise children alone? Motherhood cannot be without fatherhood. So in this loneliness becomes an unbearable burden or a privilege for those who can afford it, for those who desire it. And I put in a quote desire. Motherhood, which is total openness to other, to surprise, to the adventure of life, to self-change, to transformation, to facing, overcoming difficulties, to continuous growth and enrichment through impoverishment become something negative, tiring, or something that must be limited to a momentary, non-existential experience that must adapt to a defined and not infinite plan. But be mother, a life is for infinite. This is the true thing. So motherhood, physical or spiritual, is therefore perceived not as a part of femininity, as a woman's way of being, but as something extraordinary, the Latin meaning, disturbing like a foreign body, that of the child, in every sense, which must be, if not eliminated, defined, limited. This is a schizophrenic motherhood. But I want to say that motherhood is what realize fully every woman, make happy every woman and every man and the society. This is the true thing. So I think that we have, the society has to change, and to change itself as a society for mothers. Today we can say that society seems unable to recognize motherhood in its true form. That is a natural fact, you already said. And it cannot confront motherhood because it wants to transform motherhood in something that it isn't. Society is unprepared for motherhood and no longer has any point of reference. So the society for motherhood is possible. I think it's possible, and the role, for instance, of pro-life and pro-family organization is to demonstrate the naturalness of motherhood, and also to demonstrate a series of best practices to support motherhood and women. For instance, support mother and women, pregnancy women, for training and job search, because job when you are a mother is very difficult, and also support family in search of housing. I only want to underline a thing. It's a good thing to the family work balance. Okay, we have to work more about that. But I think that society has to protect women's choice to stay at home, to raise their children. You already said it. This is very important for the well-being of the society. And also it is important to help the welfare of pregnant women and of mothers, to promote breastfeeding, as Lucy Akello told about Africa, but not only about Africa. Support for parenting. Today it is difficult. There are mothers, because there is a big family, that do not know how to do the parenting. And also it is a very important collaboration with public bodies, voluntary sector, companies, and private individuals. we have to rethink the work, the world of work, the society, considering motherhood as a source for women's society. So it is important to renew the role of maternity into society. And I'm going at the end. Let's recognize the true value of motherhood without fear, but with pride, because a society can only exist thanks to mother. To have a happy, healthy, creative, economically productive, stable, and wealthy society, we must start with motherhood. We must therefore build a society tailored to mother that is human. And I conclude with another quote from a philosopher, Simone Tropea, in that yes to life that a woman pronounces before herself, opening herself to that other who is within her, time remains suspended. Eternity touch the flesh of the world, and man happens. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Elisabetta. Antes de iniciar el turno
Thank you
de
very much, Elisabetta.
intervenciones,
And before starting with the questions, I would just like to
unas apreciaciones sobre lo que se ha dicho aquí, por si pueden
say
ser de
something
utilidad. Empezaría
about
por Elisabetta, que creo que
this,
ha
about
ofrecido
what Elisabetta has said.
la definición de la maternidad. Para mí
I'd like to start off by Elisabetta and her definition of motherhood. To my opinion, it is one of the most relevant ones. When we she talked about the most intimate relationship that takes place throughout 9 months. It is the most intimate relationship between two human beings. That is the best definition of motherhood, and as well as the most powerful one. There was another aspect that I would like to highlight with regards to pets. And as Penny Nance told us, sometimes we see push chairs in the street and they carry pets instead of children. This is also the case nowadays in Europe. As it was mentioned in a seminar that we organized short ago, we had a speaker from East Europe, and he told us about the new paradigm that was established in Germany, where companies could see as an acceptable thing to have a first child followed by a pet, after they have seen the obligations that having a children entailed and no wanted to continue. So 9 million kids, 65 million pets, and Elisabetta mentioned before, what proves that the need that human beings have to take care of others, it is reflected in there. But in this case, people decide to go the easy way, that is to say, to get a pet. Perhaps in the future that will be a virtual AI being, and actually that feeling is there, exists there, and we do have it for us to continue existing as human beings, as mankind. All the questions and issues that African women face up nowadays too with regards to motherhood. We heard about neocolonialism. There are a number of economic and social hindrances that we are starting to see nowadays in some Western worlds, where the economic and social situation is slightly better, but where we also face those challenges. Actually, absent fathers, that caught my attention. That is an interesting element in Africa and in South America, and here in Spain we know that well from immigrant women that come from Latin America to Spain. There are pregnant women that come to Spain, and there is an absent father, but they just do not want that. Whereas in Africa, that is a voluntary choice of many mothers, which is about dehumanization, huge and clear dehumanization. I also would like to highlight what Margarita Lapisa mentioned. She shared with us many concerning insights. Margarita mentioned one of the conclusions of the UN report, which comes from the Sustainable Development Goals, that is to say, the low birth rate, which is a problem nowadays. Actually, when we enter into conflict with nature, when we clash or go against nature, then nature answers back. And then, as Margarita said before, sometimes that is hidden in a report where the international institutions try to bypass the responsibility for those low birth rates in the world. And now I would like to open the Q&A to the room, and I'm sure that there are many questions. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments in the room? Please, go ahead. Luis Peral, please. I just would like to say that Margarita de la Pisa told us how to complement the commitment for motherhood. Well, she's a clear example of how to complement all that, like wonderful career and as well as a mother of a big family. And as I mentioned before, it is very important that normal women, so having children is a normal thing. What it is not normal is what we are seeing nowadays. So having political commitment on part of normal people. If you were to take a look at the share of members of parliament who are women versus men, if you take a look at their lives, you understand what they advocate for. Actually, many of those women have had very awful experiences. They hold significant resentment. So they need love. They need to change their perspective as they are translating or passing on to a whole society feelings that are unresolved, things that they have not pardoned. It is like a resentful woman that goes against men. I think that feminism should have asked for respect, whereas nowadays they are asking to reject men, and that is the result of anger and lack of hope of finding a way of building a world together. This is the natural wish of people. It is not a question of choice. So our heart is coded for life, to have a family and to be loved. In the face of that lack of hope, they react by going against men and going against children. Sometimes it is hard for me to leave home. I'm still a mother of a small child, but the driver of what I advocate for is my life. I am very fortunate. I'm fortunate I have not been poisoned. Well, not all the men are as bad as the men that other women met. So therefore, I have the accountability and the responsibility to share my joy. I would say that what has been proposed has been a mistake. It is stupid. That is stupid. Egotism would never take you to fulfillment. That is a 2-minute pleasure. That instant pleasure that you have because you didn't have any children, but you will suffer from loneliness all your life. That is a mistake. That is stupidity that somehow society has taken in, and women have taken part in that. So therefore, those of us who had normal experiences in love, those of us who have felt loved and that we loved and want to continue loving, we should take a step forward. Well, I'd like to share an anecdote with you. My mother is an elderly person now, and she helps me out a lot. And friends used to say, so the pro-life environment did not understand the need for those who have received something, they are giving it or giving it back. They do not understand the need to take the baton. So nowadays there is a renewal, and those children need to, or those women who go back to traditional life, and this institution is passing on that message to university students. Today we are here and we really need to see the success of our accomplishments. So many years ago there was no training for that. There was no training to women. In the past there were women who were fighting against the world. In my generation, well, it was good to be a mother, but it was also very good to be a top executive. And motherhood was not seen as something positive. So I had friends who opted in for being at the meeting, top-level meeting, versus spending an afternoon with their children at home. So political class that seems to advocate for us just to go back to working and to pay taxes. That's, I don't know if you know what I mean. This is what we have been valued. So passing on this baton and our engagement in the world of politics is very, very important, even if it is difficult oftentimes to do.
Una cuestión de lo que había planteado Margarita, que tiene que ver con la política de
based on Margarita proposition about day-to-day politics. It is interesting that aid to motherhood for specific political sectors, especially those populated by resentful women, and I had this verbatim, entails forcing children or obliging women to have children, and that is deeply regression, and that is deeply bad, and that is the breeding ground out there.
Gracias. La pregunta va un poco dirigida a las tres, quizá.
This is a question to the three speakers, to the three of you. When I see the title of this international seminar, we have also discussed feminism and how women gave up on the fact that the true feminism starts by admitting the differentiating sign of identity, biologically speaking, that we do have, which is motherhood. Short ago, I read an article about certain type of feminism which is arising nowadays that precisely is aiming at that that society takes into consideration these differentiating elements that we women have. And this is a question to the three of you. True feminism is the one that we advocate for, that is to say, that highlights and takes into consideration the differentiating facts that we do have, which is not ideological but biological.
Gracias, Ana. Yo soy completamente de acuerdo que
Thank you so much,
no es
Anna. I
feminismo
fully
lo
agree
que
with
va
you.
a combater la mujer. Nada, no es posible.
Feminism
Yo creo que muchos años en el
will
pasado,
not be
los
the
feminismo has
solution.
has
For many
negado
years,
la mujer,
feminism
has hecho un
have been denying women.
masculinización de la mujer porque el aborto
Feminism
es la
has been
mejor
masculinizing
violencia contra la mujer.
women.
El negar la maternidad
Abortion is the
es
greatest form
una
of
cosa
violence against
que
women,
va dentro
denying
el íntimo,
motherhood.
la
So something that you carry inside, something which is so intimate,
va a tocar la mujer
that
es
is
el
to
único
say,
juez,
fulfillment
¿no? Porque
of
lo que
women.
es la vida. La mujer es un cuerpo
So
que vive,
we
¿no?
have
Es
life
una
inside.
particularidad de
The
la
mother
mujer,
is a
esta
living
tocar
body.
el cuerpo,
That is
tocarlo,
the
se dice tocar,
specificity that women
se
have.
dice, to touch, sí, tocar.
Feeling or
El cuerpo
touching
de una mujer
the
significa
body of
tocar
a
su
woman
entera persona,
means
su alma, su espíritu, su
touching
inteligencia.
her full body, spirit, soul,
Si va a
intelligence.
tocar la maternidad,
Therefore,
la
if you are
vida,
going to
va a destruir la mujer. No está mujer, están
touch
los hombres.
motherhood, you will be destroying a woman, but
Esto
not
es
only a
malo
woman, also
para
men.
los hombres y para las mujeres.
That is bad for both men and women.
Vemos hoy también la crisis no solo de la maternidad, mas de la paternidad.
Nowadays, we are
de
seeing
los hombres y de las mujeres.
fatherhood in crisis,
Esto
not
es
only
muy
motherhood in
importante.
crisis.
El feminismo no es esto. No puede
That is not true feminism.
combater la maternidad.
True feminism shouldn't go against maternity, shouldn't go against motherhood. I absolutely agree with what has been said here, and actually what you said about abortion. There is no other worst possible way of violence against the women than abortion. Absolutely in agreement with you. That is not feminism at all. Now, fertility or birth. So there is a thing which is often said in policies, contraception as pillar of equality, which is contraception across the reproductive life of women. So therefore, to be equal to men, we have been castrated. I cannot really see it as as a form of aggression, lack of respect to ourselves. Okay, to be equal to men, we need to stop being women. Contraception all across the reproductive life of women. So that starts at the age of 12. You are already making the girl, a young girl, an object. However, there are other things that they want to make consistent. That is to say, discrimination of women in health cases. Well, therefore, you are recognizing that women, because of being a woman, are biologically different. And that's the reason why it makes them have women-specific diseases. So this is a loop of lack of consistency. Sometimes, yes, that takes anywhere. That doesn't take anywhere. So in these health reports, help in terms of they reinforce, they enhance differences. But actually, if the Commission of Women takes those reports, 70 or 80% of them ends up being sexual and reproductive rights. which at the end of the day, at 99% of the cases, become abortion. That's as sad as it is. We would like to thank the speakers. My name is Carmen Sanchez. I come here from the Institute of Family. I'm from CDP. And this morning's presentation have been extremely interesting, and the paradoxes that have been highlighted here, denying motherhood, saying that it is a trap and going against it, but on the other hand there is a deep feeling, a deep wish for motherhood, and that also, yes, I can see surrogate motherhood in pets because there is a wish, a desire to take care of others. So those are all the existing paradoxes nowadays. For instance, if the children is a desired one, there are very many resources available. Sometimes children are born early, but if they are not desired, they are not born. And I'm concerned about associating the anti-gender movement, saying that that goes against women and human rights. But my question is, don't you think that our young people nowadays, men and women, when they hear true words such as the ones that were mentioned by Maria Calvo, the beauty of motherhood, which is the feminine essence, and that abortion never go into oblivion, and also the beauty of fatherhood. Nowadays, we are seeing very good fatherhood. That is to say, we would need to highlight the virtues of fatherhood. I think there is comeback. So I think that our university students, our young people, need to hear about that truth. We need to tell them what we've been discussing here. They have that wish inside. And you seeing this comeback? People are fed up of this feminism. I can see that in my children. And when they hear those true words, they take them in. And experience and reality tells us so. When you are a mother, then you are on the way to your meeting, and instead of thinking about your meeting, you are thinking about what it is most important and most immediate for you to protect, that is to say, your child. So I think that there is a comeback, and young people need to think about, to hear about masculine essence, feminine essence. We just don't want any fight. We just want to be complementary to each other. We need each other to move forward. And I think this is what we need to preach and say, the real experience, our real experience. Do you notice that comeback in some people? Are you seeing that around you? Well, the church has a great responsibility for people not having children because they are not preaching providence. The Gospel of St. Matthew says, do not worry about what you will eat, what you will wear, as the Lord knows what you need. And that is not preached. And the reality, fundamental providence. I say fundamental in my family. I have 24 grandchildren, and providence has always rescued us. And we don't hear that discussion. We don't hear about that. That is not preached nowadays. We know that it is, especially today, challenging to have children. Rather than lack of resources, of money, is lack of domestic or help. unlimited raise of minimum wage have made working women not to be entitled to any help. So if the child is sick and then the husband works and everyone works, so the mother cannot take care of the child. So it would be a good idea to preach the providence, and those families that have many children could give training and talks in churches and schools to talk about the beauty, how wonderful it is to have children. So sometimes in my family, there are 200 of us at a family gathering. That is beautiful. Unfortunately, I lost my wife a year ago. I don't feel lonely at all. Actually, it's just the opposite, because every single day a couple of grandchildren, my grandchildren, come home to have lunch or dinner. But we need to make people know that having children is wonderful, and we do not say it.
Hola, gracias. Bueno, quería aprovechar que os tengo aquí
Thank you very much to the three of you. I would like to take opportunity of having you here. I am a member of Parliament of the Madrid Assembly. I have significant work ahead of us, ahead of me. I would like to ask you about single parent families, how we could face up to this debate and this imposition that they try to put on us. That is to say, acknowledging the right of being a single mother, and how to balance that with the need of leaving no children unprotected. I find it difficult how to make that analysis and how to face up to those impositions, saying that a single member family, a single parent family is equal to a non-single parent family in terms of protection and care, and the lack of roots of those children, and also the fact balance that with not leaving the children unprotected in that crazy situation they go through. How to face up to the debates of single parent families, new rights, etc.
Yo sí voy a decir mi opinión particular a este respecto.
I will share my personal opinion here.
Es un tema muy complejo porque
I think it is a very complex topic. Not all the single parent families are single parent family out of choice. Here we talked about a trend to get rid of males, or not to take males into consideration when a woman wants to become a mother. We also talked about those women seeing men as an enemy. So that is to say, neglecting or not wanting to be associated with parents anymore. Those are some cases, some of the cases or situations there. But there is another cases which is about absent fathers, where we will find situations, for instance, in the African or Latin American people that we may have here in Spain, where the father is absent, and here the supreme good here is the child. And where the mothers have huge difficulty to raise their children. And as I say, depending on the case, the supreme good of children should prevail, without forgetting the cases where women take the choice. But in those cases, we should always look for the welfare of the child, and perhaps that welfare of the child might not be material one. So, for instance, the search of roots or not belonging to a consolidated family network, that is a different question. But we, as politicians, we are facing up to the needs of children. That is what should prevail. And on the other hand, we should be clear that criminalizing men is not good. Taking men out of the family equation is in no case good at all. It is no good for the child to start off. That is my personal opinion.
¿Se me oye?
Tendrá que ser la última intervención,
Vale.
me dicen que es.
Bueno, yo felicitaros también soy diputado de la Asamblea y quería un poco
First of all, I
preguntar
would
sobre
like
este
to
tema de
say
la masculinidad, que me parece que es un tema
congratulations, because this has been amazing
Yo no
so
creo que
far.
se pueda entender bien la maternidad sin la masculinidad o sin la paternidad. Y me parece que es un tema que socialmente tenemos.
And I think that this is something that we need to focus on and talk about. And I think that kids are less and less taught what it really means to be a man, and there's a very male-centered opinion in some cases, and in other cases there's also an attack to the males, and men and women both are responsible for that maternity and paternity. And sometimes we risk talking about maternity, not here of course, but sometimes we talk about it as if it was a personal project. And for that, it would be interesting to talk about what being a man means, and what it means for a woman as well, and what it means for a man to have a woman as well. We have been talking about the autism and life, and that is also something that we need to explain to boys, because sexuality, male sexuality, is something that we need to educate. And also the relationship that we have between men and women. And it's a very different relationship that we have with our bodies, and we need to understand each other's points of view. And you're talking about families, and obviously in families and in a couple's relationship is where you structure that. And in a way, the woman teaches the man how to be a man, and the man teaches the woman, even if it sounds wrong out of context, but they both teach each other. The man teaches the woman as well what it means to be a woman, and it goes both ways, and it's something that is reciprocal, and we need to talk about it when we talk about all of this, because then we avoid that fear against the male, because boys are feeling left out in some cases, and they go towards pornography, for example, the resource to pornography, and this affects many men, sadly, and it's a pattern that is more male than female. And we need to humanize sexuality, we need to humanize human beings, prostitution as well. There are also more male consumers, and we need to teach our boys how to become a man with no complexes, but a real man, like a proper man. And thank you for everything. Well, this was the last intervention. I think that every intervention has been very interesting. I would like to say thank you to everyone working together, and all the associations that have collaborated to create this opportunity for this seminar, this international seminar. And now I will end saying thank you again to Luis Peral, without whom we couldn't have made this possible. And luckily for us, all of the associations that are there on the screen have an easy way of collaborating, and we love collaborating. So.